So tonight we are looking at the TaylorJenkins Reid novel After I Do, and a really, really easy read. She's very talented. One thing I had said to you during the week that I was quite taken with was just how quickly you could consume a chapter. And her chapters, they were like sometimes they're only a page or half a page, but they were short, they were snappy, they were dynamic. There was no kind of superfluous description or anything like that. Every word counted and it drove the plot forward. But what a plot. Oh my goodness.
You know, she uses a lot of realism in her writing, and I feel like it wouldn't be authentic for her to write a novel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I have to say
she did take real world experience and real
very much so, because the whole way along this, like, I mean, she was ticking every box. Like, this couple met when they were 19. I got married when I was 19. You know, I have been married for nearly 3 decades at this stage.
Yeah.
And there have been many, like, there's many a scenario in this in terms of the communication issues and the resentment issues that I'm like, okay, I have, and your daddy has that t-shirt, maybe more t-shirts than we would want. So yes, we built.
What I thought was interesting though, especially, you know, we're both coming at this as married women. I think whenever you're within your own relationship, it's so hard to see the wood for the trees nearly. But whenever you're an outsider looking in, you're going, just talk to each other, just communicate.
Through
like it would be like if I came to you like
backstory. Yes, you're just going.
No, but if I came to you in a temper about something, and you're thinking, well, Christina, this is very easily rectified. Just talk about it, you know. But in my rage, you can't see that. You're like,
yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
So I think that the content itself, it was something that you are bringing your own experience to. And so that was, and the whole time, the tragedy of it all.
I know, it was all I had to do was talk.
The poignancy of the title, After I Do, because you know when you say I do, and we've both been there, you a little bit more recently than me, but on that day when you are declaring the I do in front of everybody, you know, that is the happiest day or one of the happiest moments of your life, because you have, you know, you're in love, you are marrying, you know, the one, and you have planned, you know, you're committing before family, friends and God to spend the rest of your life with this person, to start a family with them if that's what you choose to do. But you know that this person's going to be your best friend. And I suppose that is really what the crux of this novel is about when it considers the concept of love.
I even think, as you know, whenever you do get married, your brain nearly, you know, those first initial months, you have that honeymoon stage.
Yeah.
And it's hard to see, like, after I do, it's hard to see, well, what comes next, you know.
Because
normality
of
life,
rose-tinted glasses.
But you don't see, whenever you're in that loved up haze, you don't see reality, you know, setting back in. You're like, oh, my life's going to be a fairy tale, you know, forever. And then all of a sudden the mundane comes back. You've stuff to do, you've jobs to go to, and
the pressures of life kick in. The working, running a home, not only looking after yourself, but crucially having to consider someone else 24/7, 365 days a year with no time off for good behavior. And I suppose it's that selflessness that this deals with. But within that, the importance of communicating, which we've already talked to.
So selflessness as well, but also the importance of remembering who you are as an individual. You know, you're not just a part of a couple.
You don't lose your identity because you're a part of a couple. And in order for a couple to work, you have to know who you are. You have to know what you're about. And you have to support each other in your individuality, which seems like such a contradiction, but it's, you know, it's the crux of it if you're actually going to work as a couple. So I think that this book really does highlight all of those issues. Now, the whole concept of after I do, and that mundane and what happens. And it really does show how it creeps in, how you can get to that stage blindfolded without being aware of it, because it's all of
there's a sense of complacency,
but
nearly
even it's the small things, you know, where you're just saying, oh, whatever, you're not actually speaking your mind, you're going with whatever it is for an easy life, and I'll let this go this time, until eventually
you can't
it's
let
that
it go.
it's like Chinese water torture, it's that drip effect, and you explode, or you begin to really resent this person. And there is, love and hate are two sides of the same coin.
Absolutely.
Very much.
They're both very passionate feelings,
Very, absolutely.
Which you can see in this book.
Now, as we were talking through this during the week, because I kept saying, to Christina as we were going on, oh my goodness, number one, you're dead meat, and I did text that to you.
She was all right with the marital problems. It was the granny that she had a real issue with.
Yeah, I know, and we'll talk because I really did.
And then I'm going, there's always something in a book, and I'm like, oh my god. So,
but no, it was because she really spoke to me. She really
I knew an elderly woman, and you would have so much in common.
But that one of the things that I liked about this book was that everybody has a different perspective. It was
very
things.
Nuanced and balanced,
and we're all human, we're all flawed, we are all trying to get through life as best we can. I think everybody would say that. And for people who are part of a couple and are in a marriage or whatever, every situation's different, every couple is different. And that for me was the biggest hurdle, I would say, in reading this book, because it presented a solution that just was not me. Not so much the fact that their solution was to take a little bit of time and a little bit of space, which I can, absolutely. I'm married nearly 30 years.
Yeah.
So,
You'd go mad if you didn't have
I
space.
am going to say to you that there have never been arguments, that there have never been those moments where we haven't communicated, that, even that resentment and all of that. And I know you'll find that hard to believe, of your parents,
What? You and Daddy have never fought, ever.
Ever. Again. But, so it spoke to me on that level, and I could get with that, right, okay, we both need to go to separate spaces, we need to.
Or we may kill each other.
Yes. So 100%. But what I found difficult, because where I would be coming from, I couldn't get to grips with, and again, this is no judgment, because everybody's going to come at this from their own world perspective, their own experience of marriage. The thing that I couldn't get to grips with was this, and I think both of them went hand in hand. Number one was, once they were taking the time away, that they were going to essentially live as single people.
Yeah, they were separated.
But separated doesn't mean single. It doesn't. But so they were separating and they were living as single people, which also meant that they were therefore going to have, pursue intimate relationships with other people. Now, they did give a time frame of a year, which again was a very prolonged, parting of ways, because you're not going to be the same person that you were after a year. It was, but it was a dangerous gamble.
It was a
it was a dangerous gamble. And then on top of that, and this is what we had talked about during the week when we were out walking, because I was like, oh God, I really need to clarify my thinking on it. So you had that issue, but then there was this whole idea of what love was, and it kind of played out through that. And it was almost that sense of, do you remember, now I still get butterflies, when I look at your daddy, and I know that's going to make you vomit,
Don't talk about my daddy like that.
But, that whole kind of, that first flush of love, when you see them, and you're waiting on that phone call. World. Yes, and every time you think of them, you know, it's all of those the first kiss, the first date, that, oh, I can't wait to go on a date with them. You know, I can't wait to see them. You were counting down.
It's whenever that becomes your normal.
Yes.
You know.
And that for me was where I was like, okay, but that's not life.
But I think that was
like
the point.
It was, but it was like that episode of Friends, you know, where Monica was thinking about, or one of them were thinking about getting married, and it was like, you know, you're never going to have a first kiss again. You're never going to go out on dates with anybody else. You're going to be with the same person
and
for
whenever
the
someone
rest
puts
of your life.
it like that, you're like, oh my God, what am I doing?
But for me, I'm thinking, happy days. This is it. This is my best friend.
That's one thing that I keep going back to. Like, I don't think I could ever go back on, you know, the dating scene again.
But this situation really did the whole way through. Now, this was a roller coaster of emotion, because these were two people who cared about each other, loved each other profoundly, but they had just gotten to the point where, whilst they loved each other, they didn't like each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important distinction.
Yeah. And I feel like at that point for them, it was hard to distinguish what emotion they were actually feeling, you know. And I think as a reader, you're going, what are you doing? You love each other so much. Like, it's so obvious. But again, it's whenever you're in that headspace, you don't even understand really what you're feeling. And do you know what? I think that was the beautiful thing about the book, because for me, it really summed up that their inner turmoil and that sort of roller coaster of emotions that you do go through. Like, even whenever it's something small, you know, you can fly off the handle and it turns into not me.
Oh,
not me.
Never.
Not me.
Never.
Not me. But
we're maybe revealing a tad too much. Maybe tonight wasn't the night to have a glass of Prosecco.
No, because they keep going to say stuff and I'm like, never me.
I can't do that.
Just take my word for it. I never do anything wrong ever. I'm always right.
You got that from your mummy.
I did. I think so.
Yeah, I think so. You did too. I'm just claiming that.
Like, I feel like she really did. I sound like such a cliche, but I feel like it really did show the essence of humanity. And like, in that, when we bring ourselves to something, a lot of the time all we think is, what about me? What about my needs? What about everything you should be doing to keep me? And I think that this book was good in showing, you know, especially because we're following Lauren's perspective, her journey.
Yeah.
You know, she ultimately learns that, well, yes, I have needs that weren't met. There was another person that was coming to this relationship that I didn't fully see or didn't fully understand.
Because it comes back to that communication.
Yeah.
And do you know
what annoys me? So they did this thing so they have bad communication in their marriage, and they're like, do you know what the solution is? We'll take a year off, and do you know what we're not allowed to do? Communicate.
I think I'm supposed to have lived in a different era. I definitely am not.
I swear to God, just keeps talking about, I see me and my generation, and I'm like, we're not that far apart.
No, we're not. And I actually went and looked TaylorJenkins Reid up, and she's 41. And she's like, and I'm like, oh God, there's not that much of a difference.
She's further away from me.
Yes.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, that's when I realized that.
She keeps saying to me, see me and my generation, and I'm like, you and your generation, we're not that far apart. I swear to God.
I know.
I swear to God.
But the thing about it is, I am just, do you remember when you were growing up and wee ones were saying different things to you, or you were going expecting things, and why are they doing? I wouldn't do that to them, and I would have said to you, not everybody thinks the same way.
Yeah, no, and
as
their parents were much older as well.
You know, and
oh my God.
I'm like, okay, Sheila,
I've got this young thing with me, and she's not even being cool.
I am not, but look,
she's a young thing with an old lady's mentality.
I don't have an old lady's mentality. I just have I really resent that. I am like, what?
What you just said, the granny was your kindred spirit.
Yes, but I meant her value system, her attitude. And like, she was quirky. She stayed at that hotel and she, that had all of these things going on. I'm not I'm not. It's not that I don't live in the world,
She's
but
a
I'm not
quirky old
of the
lady
world. And that's,
in a
I
young
just have a
woman's
different
body.
mindset about it. And that's, that's okay. I'm allowed to be me. Don't judge
I'm
me.
not stopping you. I appreciate your old lady inside you.
Look, okay, I am. I'm an old woman. I am. No
Not
matter
not
what
on
way.
the outside.
Here. I'm getting closer
Not on
to
the
an old
outside.
woman on the outside. And there is that old saying, "Don't go to bed angry."
Yeah.
But what I think that means is, don't harbor resentment. Speak
Because
to
it
each
just
other. Be
festers.
direct
Yeah.
with each other. And that's something that I can say after nearly 3 decades of marriage. Absolutely. Do I always practice what I preach?
No.
No.
But the thing
But
is,
I know what the right thing to
I
do
think
is.
I'm just pretending I'm you for a second, but I think
I want, right, I'm just going to sit back and
no,
watch.
but I'm trying to put myself in your shoes reading this book, because I am 5 years married, almost 6, almost 6, yes. So I'm 5.5. So it's still fairly fresh. You may still consider me a bride if you want. But
I think that's a bit of a stretch, but we'll go for it.
But you've been married, as you said, nearly 3 decades. So you reading this book, I don't know, for me, I feel like if I was you, I would nearly be reading this nearly as a conversation to my then 19, 20-year-old self who, this is what you don't do, or this is what I wish I could have told you or said to you. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that you did what...
No, I understand what you're saying, and I can get that. Yes,
Yeah.
I do. I appreciate that. But the one thing, and I know you're going to find this hard to believe.
She was an old lady back then too.
Do you see 19-year-old me? Didn't you? That's who I was. Look, I could get on board with a lot. Yeah, I understood the communication thing. It was very real. It was very on point. The issue with me, and this is just me, I couldn't get on board with those two things, with that whole idea of love being something as superficial as a first kiss, going on a first date.
But I don't...
all of those things.
I don't think
but
that's...
also, what you were saying in terms of getting to know you, getting to know each other. And this is a me issue. So, and it's no judgment on anybody else, but, taking a break out from your marriage or separating to try and cool off and kind of clarify your thinking, which is all well and good. I could get that. But then to live a single life and to be intimate with other people, I know that for me,
that just wouldn't work.
no, it wouldn't work because I know who I am.
Yes.
And that just wouldn't work
for me.
The book
does take quite an unconventional
absolutely
approach to certain marital issues.
But you know what I thought was really good? The David fella that Lauren was... I'm trying to think of the...
Friends with benefits.
That's how old lady-ism I am. No, but that David fella whose wife had cheated on him, and he used what stood out for me in that was that he used the word. This is where the old lady in me comes back out. He used the word cuckold, that he had been cuckolded, and it was that old-fashioned word. And I'm like, oh my God! And Lauren had said to him, "This."
You're like, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
No, but I could.
Do you want to know what the young people just say? Cucked. That's it. You've been cucked.
That offends me on so many
I don't
levels.
know.
It really
it's the exact
does.
same. We just...
No, it's not. Look, enjoy. Look, you're an English teacher. Appreciate language.
I know. Yeah, I know, and I love watching how language evolves.
That's not an evolution of language. It's the very opposite. But that's a whole other conversation. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that when he uses that term, is that he's saying that he still loves his wife. He's obviously hurt. He's obviously trying to get over and to move on with his life after that because they've separated. But she says to him whenever she's realized, look, this isn't working for me. I'm going to be getting, I want to reconnect with my husband. I want to be married to my husband. I want to get back to my husband. Why you needed to invest in another intimate relationship with another man, I don't know. That's just me. She said to him, look, you have to make a choice. You can either be unhappy and be cuckolded separate from your wife.
Can we
or
please stop saying the word
no, because I
cuckold?
quite like
Please,
this word.
please.
I like it. She used it.
I
I'm
know,
just
but now
bringing
I'm
it back.
uncomfortable.
And I don't even think I'm bringing it back into fashion because I am so not fashionable. I'm not in fashion.
I know, but every time you said cuckold, I was like,
Why?
that is such an awful word.
Look, it's a word. And it's a word that...
Just say cocked.
No.
Please.
No, that's offensive. That's just... It's so bad. It's so wrong. Anyway, she says to him, so you can either be cuckolded and be unhappy, or you're still going to be cuckolded, but go back with your wife. You can move past this because you said she was absolutely devastated.
Yep.
And no matter what, it does show that irrespective of this, nobody sets out to be bad in a relationship. You know, people get themselves into situations because of miscommunication, because of feeling unloved, because of
Life
reacting to,
circumstances.
you know, interactions, actions, reactions, all of those things. And, you know, that gave him food for thought.
Yep.
And then the grandmother died.
And then she stopped speaking to me.
I
And
did.
actually, I had to lock all my doors, close my blinds, because she said she was going to kill me.
I did.
And
I
do you know
told her
what?
she was dead. No, I didn't. I just said you're dead meat.
Do you know when you read a book and you're like all that was in my head recommending you this was big picture, married couple, sad times, split up, get back together, happy times. I was like, this is good because it's a roller coaster of emotions and it has a happy ending. And then you were like, Christina, what's up? Granny died. I was like, oh my God. It just has to be
loved
something,
her.
doesn't it?
I loved the granny. She was, do you know what?
No, I cried at that too, but I was like, Mommy, please understand we are human and we have emotions.
That's
We're
all right. I
supposed to
don't.
cry.
Life is hard. This young family, this young couple, were in the middle of potentially. I didn't trust what you told me that this was going to be okay in the end because the granny died. I was living
She
on
thinks
the
I'm
edge.
setting her up for failure all the time. So I wasn't allowed to pick the next book. Let's just say that.
She was not. And I think I might suspend your book picking privileges. So the premise of After I Do, we've talked about this whole idea of falling out of love,
Yes.
which, you know, in the mundane nitty gritty can happen. We've talked about why that happens, failure to communicate, which she really did come across. But I was going to say to you that what I found really, oh God, and I thought that it was just really lazy. Was the whole email draft thing. It was cheesy.
It was never. Yes, it was. Yeah, I feel like there had to be a way because the book is told really from Lauren's perspective. There had to be a way for the reader to see, you know, and what other way could there be? Now, would I write a pile of unsent emails? I don't know. I feel like letter writing or a journal would have been more realistic, but
I just thought that it's such a, again, generalization here, but it is a female type of behavior to, if you know the password. Now, I don't know your daddy's password. Don't care.
I don't think Daddy could be bothered writing an email draft.
I don't think, no.
Do you know, okay.
He wouldn't have me there to go,
Do you know what
Sheila,
the thing
how
is?
do you spell?
Do you know what the thing
That
is?
would have been it.
For such, because you had said about it being like such a 21st century thing, you know, the unconventional way they went about this, for being so out there with how they were going to solve their marital problems, they really reverted back to.
But I think that just shows you that even though time moves on, fundamentally humans don't change in terms of their interactions
emails
with each other.
suck.
But I could believe that she would, knowing his password, go in and do that.
Yeah.
Let's say, so yeah. Then is he going to be the type to draft an email? Perhaps if he was thinking about reaching out to her, okay, type the email,
But this was
not
like
send it. But he was doing this time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
That was okay. That was a stretch. But then for him to access her emails, I thought that was such
You know,
to
and
him.
I feel like if somebody said, "Have you thought about accessing her email?" It'll be like oh, why didn't I think of that?
You know, that would not be,
Monkey brain.
he just wouldn't think of that. And I didn't, you know, so
Not
that...
you, Daddy, just men in general. I have strong opinions. Just like you. Do you know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about love.
Okay.
I want to talk about love. And all the different
love
nuances.
prevails. Love wins.
Okay, so I feel like at the start of the book, it was obviously a very negative type of love, but inherently the love that they shared at that point in their marriage was ultimately selfish, self-serving. You know, it was nearly like romance was an idealized concept, you know, and you know, once things got boring, once
Real
life kicked in, the hard work had to be put in, and it was like, why is things just not the way it was whenever we first met and first got married? Why is life not this idealized, romanticized version that I had painted in my head? And I do think that's a hard reality to come to terms with, you know, because again, it is so lovely, you know, we talked about all the first, you know, the first kiss, you know, the first date, all of that. And then even, I feel like up until you're married, you are kind of in this honeymoon limbo. Like, what real problems do you have? And everybody's going to be different. For me, like, I had no real problems. Do you know what I mean? It was, when are we going to go out again? What are we going to do? It was all very lovey-dovey and happy clappy. Any
For
other
me,
rhymes?
it was very, like, we were dropped in immediately into trauma and grief because we said I do, and 3 hours later our wedding was over.
Whoa, we're going here.
No, but I'm just saying, very
This
different.
is why she was so sad about the granny.
Yes, because obviously
Yeah.
after we said I do, within 3 hours we had a death at our reception, and that was it, over. You know,
After I said
and
I do, I had to go home to Finn.
And I remember, you know, and one of the things that kind of stuck in my head up from that day, and I thought, okay, I knew I had picked right, but if I needed evidence of it, was that your daddy had said one of his family members was coming up, obviously, and consoling and trying, you know, to comfort. And it said, this is such a terrible thing to happen on your big day. And like, he was only 21.
Yeah.
You know, and he turned around and he didn't know that I could hear what he had said. And he had said, you know, well, I got what I wanted, you know, no matter what comes or goes. And, you know, when you think about after I do, you're thinking about, you know, he had invested in, for me, that told me that he had invested in a marriage, not in a big wedding day.
He had invested in you. And,
yes.
You know, I think, especially now, we can get so lost and caught up on the perfect dress, the perfect venue, the perfect this, you know, and we really do. I think it's nearly, you want to manifest what you want your life to be like. So you want this beautiful, picturesque fairy tale wedding, when in reality, when that facade sort of goes away, we are kind of left with, well, what now? You know, like, what?
But
what
that's why you have to be, like, if you strip all that away, you're left with that person. And are you happy with that? So that should always be your starting point. And I think that the title of this kind of leads you into, and she takes you through that step by step.
I think that Lauren and Ryan, I do feel like they were the right people for each other.
Absolutely.
And I think that the year apart was good in that it showed them both, you know, like you talked a lot about, you know, the grass isn't always greener. And it showed them that, you know, and I feel like just back to love and that sort of picturesque thing, I think it showed them, they both learned a different side of love, that love isn't just romantic, love isn't just those butterflies. Love is being willing, whenever you feel that dislike, whenever you feel that resentment, to start putting in the hard work and to start.
That it takes work. Successful marriages are not, you know, just they don't just exist. They're, you know, they're the product of
Yeah.
blood, sweat and tears.
Yeah.
You know,
And I do think that...
and that's not a negative, because there's
No.
tears of joy there as well, you know, and
Absolutely.
there's that sweat of working together to build something and to...
But it's whenever you come through the other side and you're able to look back, and it's nearly that, like, I feel like for them by the end of the novel, it's like, even though they took that year apart, they would have been looking, you know, look how far we've come. Look
Yeah.
at how much we have changed, how much we've grown, how much we have learned to be understood, but also to understand each other.
I think that's the big takeaway from this text, is irrespective of your worldview on how you would deal with the situation, that everybody, I think, at the end of this text, she has offered up, I suppose, a deeper meaning of the gravitas attached to this word love, because it is one of the most abused words within the English language. And I would say, in terms of...
Other than literally, it is literally always used.
Literally. But, you know, the way you say, oh, I love your shoes, I love your hair, I love your dog.
Yeah, like we don't... how much meaning is in that? Yeah.
What does marital love, what does it mean to be in a marriage, a loving marriage mean? And it is much more than that kind of honeymoon, you know, when you are, you know, all looking at each other with, you know, rose tinted glasses. So it's much more than that.
Yes.
And, you know, it's being there. And sometimes it's having that balance. And where I have a weakness, that's where I lean on into his strength. And where he has a weakness, he leans into my strength. And it's
a
listening
partnership.
to each other. Yes. And I think that that's really what comes through at the end of that, even though the granny died. And even though the way, like, what she said to them in her wisdom was essentially what Lauren and her husband realized at the end of the text.
Yes. Do you know, I feel like as well, the characters that we're introduced to, they all have such different perspectives on love, you know, like, so Lauren, she seeks advice from a whole range of people, you know, like we've got our granny, we've got her mummy who's had her own sort of heartbreaks with her sister, we've got her friend, you know, and I feel like ultimately, I feel like those people embody each different sort of facet of love, that whenever Lauren comes back to her relationship with Ryan, she's able to see, you know, well, this is what I was lacking, this is what I need to put into this, you know. And I feel like I don't know how to say it, like, it's not that they all served as like a metaphor, but they all...
It was like a jigsaw piece. They all give her a little piece of the puzzle.
Yes, and it created this big picture for her. And like, I know, you know, because we had sort of talked about her friend, and you were saying her friend's a bit of a contradiction. Yeah. But I feel like even that was necessary, you know, because she sort of showed Lauren, you know, who she is as an individual, and that she matters as her own person as well.
Yeah, I do agree with you there, but for me the problem was that this person was speaking, it was kind of hypocritical, and that was what I found problematic about it, because she was speaking from a committed relationship, and yet she was almost like she was vicariously living through Lauren's situation, which I found a little bit disingenuous. You know, and I don't think that's the way TaylorJenkins Reid intended it to come across, but I just thought, okay, there was something about that just didn't sit right with me. But again, it didn't detract from the overall message in the text, which is that a marriage and love...
It's that love conquers all.
Well, but yes, love does conquer all, but it's not that romantic love that conquers all. It's a very deep love, and it's a love that is selfless as opposed to selfish.
Yeah.
And it's when you start being aware that, you know, you have to contribute as well as take from it. And, you know, even as I'm sitting here pontificating, I haven't always followed through on, knowing something and
But
doing
I feel
something
like
aren't
that's
always the
human
same
as
thing.
well.
It
And
is.
do you know, I think that the reality of it is, going forward, like this was a big thing for
Yeah.
them to overcome, and it's not going to be perfect, they are going to make mistakes, but the hope now is, that they have learned and they've learned what each other needs and how to navigate hardships and hard times, within their marriage.
By one thing, communicate.
Yeah.
Talk to each other.
She doesn't like the miscommunication trope, neither do I, to be honest. But
I didn't, it was
does my head
heartbreaking.
on. Does my head on.
So, just to close it all up, the way this text opened with the parking lot thing, I was like, oh my God, is this written about me?
Oh, yeah.
Because I was saying to you that there was a night, I think your daddy and I were going to see a theatre show in Belfast. And of course, it was a Saturday night, but he was working. Yeah. And as always, he was running late. I was ready. We were rushing down the road. There was picture and no sound in the car. There was zero communication. I was in my head saying all of the things that I wanted to say to him. I'm quite sure that his internal monologue was similar. Neither of us were speaking to each other. We went in to see the show. When we came out, because we were so entrenched in our aggravation, we couldn't remember where we parked the car. And I mean, we walked every floor of that multi-story car park.
Yeah.
And by the time we got to the bottom of it, we were wetting ourselves laughing, because we were so stupid. And we, obviously we got over that all right. So I could relate from the get-go to this experience, and which was why I was so pleased with the resolution. I would have been devastated had there been a different ending.
I know, but I think, I think that the thing that TaylorJenkins Reid was trying to show was if a relationship doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's not the end of the world.
No, and
and I think because there was there potential, and obviously the readers rooting for them, and thankfully they did get back together. But I think that it is important. It shows, because I feel like people can feel like if my marriage doesn't work, I'm a failure. I'm this. I'm
absolutely,
not.
And relationships fail for so many reasons, and none of those reasons are
any one person's fault.
Yes.
And the thing as well is, like, who I am at 27, and I'm not saying my relationship's going to fail. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you either grow with someone or you grow apart, and that's nearly where the make or break point is, So the person I am now,
choice. It does.
The person I am now won't be the same person I am in 20 years' time.
Unless you're me, who was a little old lady at the age of 19. I was born old.
Yeah.
I'm just growing into myself.
I'm the human being here. She's the cyborg with an old lady trapped inside her.
I swear to God, honestly, I don't know. Things are black and white for me, and that's a strength, but it's also a flaw, and I can accept that.
Even me thinking, what age am I? 27. Me 7 years ago when I was 20, I'm a completely different person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you do, and I know, like, you always say, like, I'm a grown up, I'm an adult. I have a lot of growing up to do, and I feel like as life goes on, I'm going to find that I still have a lot of
absolutely every single day is a learning day, and it's hindsight is a wonderful thing. It's like, and also to keep bringing out the cliches and the old sayings, youth is wasted on the young. Because if I could, you were saying, you're like, okay, I would make this, I would get everything right first time round.
Absolutely.
But but it's also about being humble.
And I think another thing that this book sort of taught me anyway was to nearly be gentle with yourself. Sound like such a Christina, you're doing a great job, but like, and not to take it too seriously. Like, there's a lot of things
not to take marriage seriously.
No, life like you were saying, fun. You can remember, you were both in a really bad mood, and then by the end of it, you're laughing.
Yeah.
Don't be taking things too seriously. See the fun and the life in everything that you can. Easier said than done sometimes, I know, but if you make a conscious effort to do that, I feel like life will be easier, and those challenging moments, they will become that wee bit easier to navigate.
And it's working together, and you're both trying to work for the betterment of each other. So I think we've kind of really given After I Do a very good interrogation.
Yeah, I did. Do you know what? The more we talk about it, the more I like it. I really love this book.
I did enjoy it. Would I say that I loved it? No, because I was completely in a state of distress and angst from the get-go because of...
What are you going to do when the old lady in your brain passes away?
I don't know.
God.
Well, I'll not be around anymore.
She'll just shut down.
I'll not be around anymore. But no, I really did. I loved that character in that text. I really did. I was like, she is on the ball.
It was the same with, you noticed, with the Thursday Murder Club. She was like, all these old people, me.
Yeah. What can I say? Well, listen. So that is After I Do. Your book picking privileges have been suspended.
Did you enjoy it?
I did, but it's not... Look, I read for escapism. Life can be tough. I don't want to be crying all the time.
I was going to recommend another one of hers, but...
We'll leave it for a week or two. Yeah, whenever
a week or two.
Forget
a month or two
that you subjected me to that emotional roller coaster. So my pick for next week is Tim Weaver's The Last Goodbye. So we are back to the kind of mystery thriller text.
We love a good wee thriller here.
Yes, and by all intents and purposes, for all intents and purposes, this is a really, really gripping text. So we are very much looking forward to getting stuck into that as well. So, Christina, how's the glass faring out? Excellent.
And full?
The glass or you?
I don't know. Interpret it whatever way you want.
It's ambiguous. So we will cheers until next week.